Pies Footy coming to you on my lunch break, and massive news. Collingwood have had 5 re-signings, and namely being the veterans in Still Sidebottom, Scott Pendlebury, Jeremy Howe, Will Hoskin-Elliott, and Oscar Steen, who has been riddled by injuries this year. So let's unpack that and try and articulate and understand what this means from a list management standpoint. Well, my biggest question is, number one is Joe Richards is not there. He hasn't been signed on. Jack Bytel, Charlie Dean, Josh Eyre, Nathan Kruger, Ned Long, Reef McInnes, and Lockie Sullivan. And I can't remember if Will Parker signed on. Please excuse me. And I wonder, does that mean a lot of these players won't be signed on and are going to get delisted? I mean, how many players can you lose before it becomes too much to make up for in the draft and in the trade period and whatnot? So someone please enlighten me in the comment section, because I'm here to learn as well while we're all at it. And the other question will be from a lot of the fans is, we've just signed 4 players over the age of 30. 4. Hoskin at 31, Still Sidebottom 33, Jeremy Howe 34, and the dependable Scott Pendlebury at 36. Me playing not devil's advocate, but trying to rationalize the other side to that narrative of we're signing old players is, well, who's ready to replace them, really? And I don't know if we can default or submit to a rebuild just yet. You look at our last 5 games, who could possibly say we're ready? We need a rebuild right now when you look at the way we've performed. And outside of that 4-game stretch between Gold Coast, Brisbane, Essendon and Geelong, and the first 3 games of the year, how can you suggest that we need to start again? So that's probably the logic that Collingwood are going with right now. I really do hope Nathan Kruger signs on. I'd like to see Reef McInnes remain. Outside of that, I'm not too bothered if we lose, Jack Bytel, Charlie Dean, Josh Eyre. We don't know much about just yet because he's had an injury-riddled season as well. Lockie Sullivan, he's barely a fringe player right now. So those players I'm not so concerned about, but it's more so the Krugers, the Reef McInnes, and Joe Richards. I think the writing's on the wall. So I'm not sure when there will be more signings announced, but 5 of them being announced today. Yeah, I see what you're saying with age, but I'm coming back at you with the point that we're still in contention. Look at Geelong. Last year they looked cooked, injuries, etc., etc. They're back in the top 4 this year. Why can't Collingwood do that? Ed Allen has shown some form in his last game and in the VFL as well, which is how he earned his spot. He wasn't given that game against Melbourne. He earned that, and that's why he played, because he was playing really well in the VFL. I think there's a lot to like for Collingwood going into 2025, and we're going to need Scott Pendlebury playing in the middle. He's too slow. Well, guess what? We have Bo McCreary and Lockie Schultz and Bobby Hill and Josh Dacos off the half back line to make us look faster coming out of the stoppages and out of the centre bounce. Jeremy Howe, we don't have a second key tall defender Jeremy Howe plays as that third key tall, but he sometimes plays much taller than that because Billy Frampton and Charlie Dean haven't done the job this year on a consistent basis. So unless we get Mark Keane, unless we get Josh Battle or Tom Barrass, which is unlikely, Jeremy Howe needs to remain at the helm. And he's probably one of our better players this year, if you ask me. Sure, he turns it over sometimes, but I think he turns it over because he has the license to thrill. His ball use is that good and he's that trustworthy that we ask him to bite off those bigger or more difficult passes than you would ask someone like Billy Frampton or Charlie Dean. And then Still Sidebottom. Yes, we were, telling or suggesting that, and yes, at Pies Footy, we may have said he needs to retire early this year, but that was when he was playing in the half back line. That's when he was playing off the wing. He's come into the midfield on ball, and he's become this tagger, run-with player who can find his own footy, and that is prime Still Sidebottom from his early days where he dominated in the midfield. So if there's no one there to replace him yet, why would you retire him if he's playing this well in his last 5 games of the year? And his running capacity is still elite. He's one of the highest runners when it comes to distance accumulated during the course of a game. And then Will Hoskin-Elliott is so versatile. He's such a sacrificial player and gives up so much of his game for the betterment of other players to have greater impact. Similar to Jack Crisp, he will play where he needs to be played, not necessarily where his best position is. And that, you need these players. You need Will Hoskin-Elliott. You need Jack Crisp, who is a better player, but still somewhat a role player when it comes down to the crux of things. So if you look at the data, you look at Scott Pendlebury, the 4th highest rated player for Collingwood this year. Jeremy Howe, a little bit further down in that pecking order, still within the top 10 of the club. Like I said, still sidebottom. Look at his game against North Melbourne when he got thrown into the middle when we subbed off Finlay Macrae. Finlay Macrae was supposed to be that guy coming into the 2024 season to replace someone in the midfield. And here we are. Sidebottom needs to go into the middle in that game against North Melbourne. We're down by 40 points. He plays a massive role in the middle, shutting down Luke Davis-Uniacke. He plays a massive role shutting down Errol Goulden. He plays a massive role in shutting down Lockie Neal to a certain extent against Brisbane a couple of weeks ago. And Jack Viney, coming off a 30 disposal game, keeps him down to, I think it was 14, 15 disposals for the game. So we've just revivified someone like Steele Sidebottom. Oscar Steen is still unproven, but there was much to like from his VFL season last year. I think he played more so that ruck/forward role, and with Aiden Begg delisted, we're probably going to see more of Oscar Steen have an impact in the VFL when he's back healthy, and he'll be in tandem with someone like Big Roo. And on that, with having these older players stick around for another 12 months, all on lesser contracts, I think most of them are 1-year contracts, if I haven't read this wrong. They're on 1-year contracts, they're on lesser contracts, which allows us to shop for bigger fish in the market, and it allows these older players to cradle these younger players who are still up and coming, that are still needing some guidance. You got players like TJ, Harry DiMattia, you've got Will Parker, Ed Allen, Reef McInnes, Finlay Macrae. If these players remain, who else? Am I missing anybody else that's important in the makeup? Let's go youngest players. Harvey Harrison still needs that guidance, and then Bo McCreary is still only 23. So to keep these older players around is going to be conducive to ensuring these younger players have the best opportunity to be the best professional AFL footballer that they possibly can be. We don't want to go down that route where North Melbourne get rid of all their veterans at once. We want to, I guess, stagger it, and I think we still can. Who's to say next year we retire Steele Sidebottom, and then the year after that, Pendlebury, and then the year after that, Howe, Jeremy Howe, and so on and so forth. Like, I don't think they're necessarily all going to go next year. And hey, if they're ready to go next year, maybe that just means that the younger players are ready to take the bull by the horns and drive their own car, essentially. And lastly, to finish on a positive note, we've got Scott Pendlebury, who's playing his 20th season in season 2025 for Collingwood, a one-club player. And hopefully he gets closer and closer to breaking that all-time games record held by Boomer Harvey. I think he'll need to play into 2026 if he wants to get there. But just an incredible feat. He's timeless, durable, and you've seen throughout the season his value in the team, his intangibles in being the coach that is playing on that field behind Fly Macrae is what makes him an asset for the club. Still at the age of 36 after 350 odd, or 400 games, sorry, now at this point, I apologise, but that's why we still need him, and his kicks going inside 50, and his work inside the contest is still some of the best work you see at AFL level. I remember that game against Adelaide. If you want to see Pendlebury, prime Pendlebury at the age of 36 in 2024, go watch that first quarter against Adelaide and tell me he can't go another year. Go Pies.